All right, we are officially live. The floodgates have been opened. Pre-webinar banter commencing now.
Begin.
Just for Jim, just so Jim, so he
Just for Jim.
doesn't bash us on Twitter or anything.
I know. He's probably going to bash us on Twitter anyway. Well, let's wait till we know he's in here before we start making fun of him. There he is. Jim is now here. We can now make fun of Jim.
It's now time.
It's official.
All right, Jim. Here's your pre-webinar banter. It's short. It'll be a little shorter than usual, but lots of moving parts here.
He says about time.
Yeah. Get your pre-webinar banter fixing, Jim.
There we go. I did not get pictures of Matt and George for the introduction slide, so they're just, I guess people just look at the video. Hey, Matt, what's your job title? I don't know. What's your job title in general? Because I have a spot on my slide that says insert title here, and I thought it would be a good idea.
My title is wireless project engineer.
Wireless product engineer. Cool.
I like it.
And I put at Wi-Fi Ninjas. I don't know if that's especially accurate or not, but.
Well, the company I work for is called Acidic, and then we set up a podcast this year for
Gotcha.
Wi-Fi Ninja, me and Mac.
Yeah, you should drop a link in chat.
Yeah, absolutely should, and we can definitely publicize that a little bit. I'm sorry, what was the name of the company that you work for, or do you even want it on a slide? I like how we're just building the slide out last minute here.
Sure, it's nice. It's fine. It's a company called Natilik, Natilik.
Natilik, right? I can Google it, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Jerry, you should have a link.
Google it really quick. How's that?
To OneDrive to be able to download that file, because I think it's too large to send an email.
Yeah, I will get that uploaded. Cool. I'm gonna paste that link in chat here to all attendees. Hey, can you guys hear me?
No.
Hey, there he is.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly, a wild George appears.
How you guys doing?
Pretty good, man. How about you?
Living, surviving.
Surviving? But yeah, I know what you mean.
Man, that's a big mic in front of your face there.
Yeah. I'm just a little insecure, so I try to cover up as much of my face as possible. But I just spent so much time on the phone and things, I got sick of bad audio quality. And so I was like, I'm just going to get a nice mic and sound good, sort of. Okay, Jerry, good news. Slides are done.
Woo. I'm putting in a new slide that George just sent me a picture of.
Oh, okay. I will stop then while you put that in.
No, it's all good.
We should probably let people know what's going on. If you have just joined this webinar and you're really confused about what is going on right now, this is what we like to call pre-webinar banter. Usually it involves us making fun of each other or just chatting or whatever. But this time it's because, well, I'm going to blame it on Jerry, actually. He's adding a slide last minute here.
It's all my fault.
Jerry was unprepared.
It's a very important slide. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess. We'll see we'll see how well PowerPoint keeps things synchronized here. I don't see it yet.
Yeah, it's big picture. May take some time.
Okay.
Big picture.
Let's see. David says I sound gooder. Yes. Is that a technical term?
I think so. Sounds good to me.
And I did not forget my Ekahau hat this time.
Woo! Oh, I should put mine on.
So there we go. Oh man, look at that. I see what the picture is now. Did you format it and stuff, Jerry, or?
Oh, I didn't do anything with it. I just copied and pasted.
Just kind of stuck it in there.
Yeah, you
I
can
will.
you can mess with it if you want.
Okay, I'll mess with it.
Last minute game time decision on that one, right?
Yeah, I like it. It was a good call. We need to find a good picture of George real quick to stick in there.
Oh no, I'm ugly. You don't need any of that.
Well, maybe
George will
it's not
remain
gonna
like a
be-
shadowy figure.
may not be of you specifically. Just a picture to represent you. Try and capture you in a picture. Where are we at? 2 minutes or so?
Yep.
Cool.
And there's no banter happening. I really feel like we're letting Jim down here.
Minimal banter.
Hey, Matt, wasn't there like a squeaky door? Did you were one of the guys interviewed UC, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
We had UC on our show for the announcement for the Ekahau Survey for iPad and for the Ekahau Connect stuff. And he was obviously in a room that was quite close to some of the developers, and at different points of the call and stuff, he kept getting like people to come in, or other people would be going in and out, and yeah, the door was so loud he would warn us. We actually did cut out quite a few just opening and closing, but in the end we decided to leave a few in because we just thought it was quite funny.
It was. I felt like it added to the experience personally, but
it was painful. It was painful. Not on you guys. You guys handled it well on the podcast, but yeah, they need to do something about that door. That was door is painfully loud.
They need some WD-40 for sure.
yeah, UC is kind of a wild card, but that's kind of what makes it fun, you know?
You never know.
You never know.
Keeps it interesting.
Hey, Jerry, are you going to run slides or am I going to run slides? Which way do you want to go? You can run slides. I'm fine with
Yeah,
that.
why don't I run slides and you can drive the demo? How does that sound?
All right. Sounds good.
Sounds like we got an awesome plan. All right. Well, I think we're just about at the top of the hour. Any final banter comments?
No more banter comments from me at this time.
No more banter.
Wilfred says, well, just go look at the chat. It's funny. Although he only sent it to us. So, yeah. So who's going to kick this off, Jerry? You or me?
I will go ahead and kick it off here in about 10 seconds. Okay. Make sure recording is going. All right. Well, it is the top of the hour here. We've got a important topic here to cover with you guys. We're actually going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be doing more of what I'd like to call a product walkthrough. We haven't really done this before, but we've got some new products, and we've been getting some questions and some inquiries about some of the different capabilities and benefits and how some of it works. So we thought it might be good to bring you guys a webinar. Obviously give you an opportunity to interact with us on the webinar through our Q&A panel, as well as the comments or the chat box there. And speaking of the chat box, it always defaults to the all panelists, but we do have you do have the option to change the to field there to all panelists and attendees if you want to interact with other people in the attending the webinar here live. One of the benefits of joining the webinar live here, but we are going to be recording this webinar as well. So we'll send out a link to the recording if you do need to drop early or anything like that. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. Joel, did I miss anything on the housekeeping side before we get into this?
No, I don't think so. So you mentioned Q&A, right? Did we talk about upvoting questions and things like that in the
No.
Q&A tool? I can
Do we
talk
have
about
it
that.
enabled?
Yeah, I think it's enabled.
I'll double check that. Somebody want to test
Got
the
it.
upvote functionality?
It works. It's there. So yeah, so there's basically two good ways to communicate with us. I think Jerry talked about the chat. If you want to talk to us in the chat, feel free to do that. And if you change the to field to all panelists and all attendees, that will allow everyone to hear you. And that's kind of fun because then you guys can blow up the chat and have your own conversations while we talk and do our thing over here. And we'll also keep an eye on that as well. If you have a formal question that you would like to ask us, then go over to the Q&A tool and you can ask your question there, and you can also upvote other people's questions. And so it's just a nice way to make sure that we can actually get to see your question. So feel free to ask those, and some of them we'll answer on the fly. Some of them we'll probably hold off until later to answer those questions. Also, this webinar is being recorded, and I think Jerry said this, but we'll post it to the website. Our marketing team is super quick. They usually get this posted within 24 hours or so. They're usually really, really fast. So yeah.
Well, we've got a couple other people on the line with us here, Joel, don't we? Brought in a couple of guests. Joel, you want to kick off the introductions?
Yeah, for sure. So for those of you that don't know, my name's Joel. I'm the technical trainer here at Ekahau. Of course, you've been hearing from Jerry. Jerry is one of our product managers here at Ekahau. As far as guests, we've got two of our really good friends here with us today. First off is George Stefanik. I don't know, George, do you want to introduce yourself and say hey real quick?
Yeah, nice picture there. You could actually use my real picture. I'm George Stefanik. I'm a mobility solutions architect over at Active Expert, and have the privilege to be here. Thanks for joining.
I said I wanted to use a picture that represented you well. I thought that really summarized you up well. I don't know what that means. Yeah.
I don't know. My first thought is George a transformer? Is that what he is?
Nice.
I know, right?
Start some rumors here. And then also with us on the line, we've got Matt. Matt, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on. My name's Matt Starling. I'm a wireless project engineer for a company called Metidic, who's a Cisco Gold partner.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, guys. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks
So
for
yeah,
having me.
these guys we brought on because they've got some real skin in the game, unlike me and Joel, hiding behind our desks the majority of the time these days. I actually have had some opportunity to get out in the field and do get involved in some pretty cool projects that George has been working on. Actually, I think I got a picture of me actually doing some work in the real world. This was actually prior to the launch of Ekahau Connect. We were actually at a place that was doing some events, and as you can tell, quite a few seats there, and relying pretty heavily on Wi-Fi for several different things. And that was actually the iPad there prior to launch, doing some beta testing in the real world. And yeah, George, any comments on this picture here?
Wow, I don't even know where to begin. When Jerry came out on site, he's like, "You got to see my new toy," and I was flabbergasted. To actually see the data being collected. It was early, right, Jerry? So it was a lot of a little quirky at first, but I was excited and couldn't wait for the release.
Yeah, this was literally like I got the iPad app installed on the iPad probably like the day before I went out to the site here, and that was my pretty much first experience actually using it myself. So yeah, this was very early on in the beta testing, prior to even opening up to any kind of external beta testers or anything like that. But yeah, it was pretty cool to we really wanted to test this thing in a dense AP environment, and basically make sure this thing wasn't going to choke when we got this thing in the real world, besides just testing it in our R&D offices and in the lab environment. And you get into certain areas of this in the open bowl here and be able to hear I think we'd see like 50 APs on a given channel early on, before some of the remediation work and stuff that was done at the project. Well, cool. Let's talk about the agenda then for this webinar. So we're going to go through some of the benefits of surveying with an iPad, and that's a big reason why I wanted Matt and George on here, is just to make sure it's not coming from the Joel and Jerry slant of being Ekahau employees and how great it is, but hear for some from some actual Ekahau customers that are use this thing in the real world, and what their experience has been now that this thing is released to the masses. And see, is this really a game changer, or is this just kind of a slight benefit or a big benefit to what we've had in the past? But yeah, then talk about what are the requirements? How do you get up and running with this whole survey for iPad type experience? What kind of hardware do you need? What kind of software? How does the subscription work? I've already seen in the Q&A, there's been some questions around the licensing for it. So we'll hopefully be able to hash out all that kind of stuff through that. And then we'll say, we've gotten some inquiries. All right, how do I get started? Now that I've got Ekahau Connect, how do I get the iPad app installed? How do I get the project file from my Ekahau Pro to the iPad and vice versa? How do we get started with this thing? And then we'll spend the bulk of the time, demoing this thing, walking you through the product, showing you its capabilities as it stands today. And, keep in mind, this is kind of version 1.0 of the iPad app. So, there's still, is some certain features, and things like that, that we do have on the Ekahau Pro side that are not yet on the iPad side. So we'll kind of talk through some of that of, maybe what some of the, the caveats are, what are some of the limitations of, and the differences between the Ekahau Pro survey side and the analysis capabilities there versus the iPad side. Cool. And then, anytime we've got left, and throughout, we'll try to answer any questions and stuff that come in. We'll be keeping an eye on that chat dialogue and the Q&A panel between me and Joel. Hopefully, we'll be able to answer those questions pretty quickly. Joel, what do you think? How do we want to handle this kind of talking through the benefits? We've put a few up here on the slide, but I think, talking with our experts that we've got on the call here with us, as well as, our attendees in chat, let's maybe do a breakdown of, what are some of the benefits of surveying with the iPad?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe we could just kind of go down the list and kind of get Matt and George's thoughts on this. So, as I was building out this list, the very first thing, at least the first time that I surveyed with Ekahau Survey for iPad, the way that we used to do it before was with a laptop with a whole bunch of USB adapters plugged in. Now we've shifted over to Sidekick, of course, works on both, if you're surveying with a laptop versus iPad, works on both. Great. But then carrying a thin and light iPad around, I'm not sure about you guys, but the first time I did that, it was just mind-blowingly easy to do. And so I'm going to say that, like, one of the things about surveying with laptops is they make your arms hurt after a couple of hours. But with an iPad, like that didn't happen to me. Matt, George, if you guys had some time to survey with the iPad, like, do you guys have any thoughts on, I don't know, this, and if you want to expand out into other pros and cons too, of like surveying with the iPad versus laptops, what do you guys think of it?
I've actually used out surveying with it yesterday using the iPad, and had quite a large survey to do a couple of weeks ago when it first got released, and I first got hold of the iPad Pro and was using the Ekahau Connect. It was really good. One of the things I think you've missed off there is how discreet it is now compared to when you'd be walking around beforehand with a laptop, and like you said, all these dongles sticking out. One of the things that, I don't know about you guys, what I used to get a lot of the time was you'd be walking around an office and be getting a lot of funny looks from the people sitting there, and everyone's coming up with their own original jokes. Like, some of the best ones I've had is asking me if I'm ghost busting, or it looks like I'm selling ice cream, and this, that, and the other. But now I can walk around with an iPad and the Sidekick, and it's very discreet. Not many people really notice that you're there to like surveying for Wi-Fi compared to before. So that's definitely one of the pluses for me, for sure.
That's something I hadn't thought of. I do remember back when I was surveying I was using a MacBook Air, and I think I had 3 like Proxim 8194s plugged into my MacBook, and I had to survey a hair salon styling school. And oh man, I just felt like the biggest nerd walking around with all these adapters plugged in. So that's something I hadn't thought of. Like, thanks for bringing that up.
My favorite is if I was looking for Pokemon when I feel like that's kind of
Yeah,
bit, but yeah, that's why I have all these antennas sticking out of my computers. I'm just that serious about finding Pokemon.
I've had that one a few times, to be fair, especially when Pokemon first got like the release of Pokemon Go. Everyone was saying it for a bit, but yeah, the one I seem to keep getting from people was saying that, asking if I was going around ghost busting. So, but
Wow.
I haven't had that since using the iPad, and
That's
I
This
was doing
brings up
quite. Sorry.
Yes, I was just gonna say this brings up a really good point of, especially when we're comparing surveying with a laptop to surveying with an iPad. Obviously it is, I think that's a really good point of the discreteness of it. What about from a professional standpoint? Maybe George, what do you think from, from going from surveying with laptops with adapters sticking out of them and USB hubs, attached with Velcro or tape or whatever you use, to
Yeah.
now using something like an iPad and a Sidekick? What does that do from a professional standpoint? Do you think that makes a difference?
I think it makes a difference on a lot of different levels. First, we do a lot of assessments, and based on our experience, and you've seen this, Jerry, yourself, when you work with us on some of our projects, our guys are actually carrying external batteries, and we have a little pouch that they strap to themselves and power up their Surface or whatever laptop they might be using. And then you have all the adapters, right? We live in an adapter world. If you go from one device to another, like from USB to USB-C now, there's adapters for everything. It's nice to leave some of that home, especially when you're traveling. If you're traveling abroad and you don't want to bring just, one hub, you have to bring two or three because, you might have a problem with one of those. And it's less equipment to, raise eyebrows when you're going through TSA. What is all this stuff, right? So it's nice from that perspective. And also from a professional feel, as was mentioned already, you don't look like you don't belong. Yeah, the Sidekick is on your side, but you kind of blend in. You don't have all those adapters and antennas hanging off your laptop.
Right on. Cool. Well, did we miss any other points? I see there's a lot of lively chat going on in the chat. Joel, did I miss anything there?
Everybody wants to talk about GPS support on Ekahau Survey for iPad, but I think I do want to talk about that. I think we can loop back around to that a little bit later. So, I didn't see anything else around kind of the usability of it, but I think everybody pretty much agrees on this. And if you haven't tried it yet, try to find somebody that, like a friend or something that has Ekahau Survey for iPad, and just give it a shot. I know this is turning into like a sales kind of thing right now, and I don't really want to do that, but it is so good. It is such a pleasure to use. I really, really enjoy using it. So I'm looking forward to actually getting out and doing some more surveys with it. So, but yeah, I think we could probably go ahead and move on and start talking about what you actually need to do a survey with Ekahau Survey for iPad. Jared, do you want to talk about this, or do you want me to talk about it? Which way should we go?
Yeah, so let's go through the requirements. I'll kind of quickly hit on what you need to get up and running with Ekahau Connect and the survey for iPad. So first and foremost, Ekahau Connect is the kind of hierarchy. That's the top level. Ekahau Connect is the entire suite. That includes Ekahau Pro, Ekahau Sidekick, Ekahau Survey for iPad, Ekahau Cloud, and what's not listed on here is also Ekahau Capture and Ekahau Training. But for the purpose of this webinar, we'll just be focused on these products that are required to get up and running with the Ekahau Survey for iPad. In addition to the products that you see on here, we need a Connect subscription, and this is all the survey for iPad, the cloud, are all part of that Ekahau Connect subscription component, which is an annual subscription price, similar to how in the past we've always had support and maintenance that you pay an annual fee for. We've now built upon that, if you will, and added the Connect component to the support and maintenance. So the Connect subscription includes your support and maintenance, plus all these other great benefits. So yeah, these are kind of the requirements to get up and running with the Ekahau Connect solution. And as we go into the demoing, we'll explain where each one of these kind of components fit into the Ekahau, into surveying with the iPad. What about the hardware itself? I think this is good to just kind of go around the room here, and even with chat, is there something that you guys find that is really beneficial to a certain iPad, certain size, certain version or model or anything like that? Personally, I use the one prior generation iPad Pro. I've been using that one for a while now. Works great for all of my testing and things like that. I'm not obviously using it as much in the real world as like Matt and George is. Yeah, kind of curious. Matt, you want to kind of talk about maybe what your setup looks like when it comes to the iPad?
Yeah, sure. So I didn't have an iPad before, so I was actually making a decision on whether to go for I was going to go for the iPad Pro 3, but I wasn't sure whether to go for the 11-inch or the 12.9. After going into the Apple Store and having a look at both of them, I decided to go with the 11-inch iPad Pro 3 with the Apple Pencil. This was mainly just because of the mobility of like walking around. I felt like the 11-inch version was nicer than the 12.9 with like getting through some tight areas and things like that. And yeah, so that's why I went with the iPad Pro 3.
Nice. And that's working well for you. You like the size and performance and battery life and everything of it?
Yeah, it's really good. The survey that I was doing yesterday, I mean, I was there from 9 a.m. in the morning till after 5 o'clock, and I still had about 30% battery left on my iPad and 60% left on the Sidekick. So lasted all day.
So hang on, Matt. I just want to make sure I understand you there. You said you were there from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and you only your iPad was only down to 80%.
My iPad was down to about 30%, around 35%, and then the Sidekick was at around, I think that's 60%.
Wow. So you only got it down to 35%. That's amazing.
And I was also using it for going around taking pictures of the AP locations and using other applications to make notes, things like that as well.
So I'll take the opportunity to jump into and say what I'm using. I do have last year's iPad Pro, the 10.5 inch iPad Pro, and that one does work totally great for surveying. But I did go ahead and pick up this 11 inch, this year's model iPad Pro. Big reason for me is USB-C. I am still using an adapter, but I could absolutely go buy a USB-C cable to plug directly into my Sidekick. I just haven't. But what I love about having USB-C on both my iPad and my MacBook is that if I want to switch back and forth between my MacBook and my iPad when I'm on site, you can just yank the cable out, and it doesn't even really bother Ekahau Survey for iPad at all. Like I can move the cable back and forth all day long without even worrying about it. And both Ekahau Pro on my MacBook and Ekahau Survey for iPad here, they just don't care. It just doesn't bother them. I would say that the key disadvantage to going with a Lightning-based iPad is if you have a Lightning port instead of USB-C, then you have to use the Apple Lightning to USB camera adapter. It's not expensive. It's like $20 or $30 rather. And it just adapts to USB-A, and so you can plug it right in and it's not a problem. But the other thing that I'll touch on too is that now this is getting dangerously close to turning into a sales presentation for Apple, but I have really enjoyed having an iPad Pro for way more than just surveying. It's nice to have this. This is great for taking notes on airplanes and things like that. Really, really great device all around it. So I'm finding I'm using it for way more than Ekahau Survey for iPad. I'm using it for a lot of different tasks.
Yeah, and I would add to that, part of iOS, we have a number of iOS apps that are critical to our workflow. We use Notes, obviously Clouds we're able to share. It's nice when it connects, it's automatically uploaded to the cloud. And now to have Ekahau on an iPad, it fits into our workflow. We use a different app for our pictures because we take additional notes. And again, this is all iOS based. To have that all in one tool, I don't need to have, now my laptop and an iPhone or iPad to take those pictures and notes. It's really nice.
Awesome. So yeah, I don't know. I hope we kind of covered I don't know, maybe we should just kind of talk about what's on the slide really quick. And we do want to jump into demo stuff as quickly as possible here. But basically, like the slide says, supported technically, you can use any iPad running iOS 12 or newer. That includes iPad Air. Jerry, does it include iPad mini? I'm pretty sure that does. I put that on the slide. It does.
Yeah, really. So really any iPad that will run iOS 12, as long as you have iOS 12 on there, it's going to be compatible. What we found is, the hardware specs, if you dig in deep, there's some websites out there, you can look at them. Some of these lower end iPads, smaller iPads, iPad minis have less memory in them, less RAM. So that could become a potential bottleneck or, just slow down performance wise if you're surveying in very dense environments with lots of data to visualize, lots of APs, large maps, those kinds of things. So that's why we recommend the iPad Pros. Also keep in mind, it may run perfectly fine today, but as more features and other things are added, that might become a bottleneck as well. So yeah, as it stands today, any iPad that runs iOS 12 will be compatible, and I believe at least the latest version of iPad minis do support iOS 12, so that will work.
And one other thing we should probably talk about is screen size. Matt and George, feel free to chime in here, because I haven't personally tried this on the 13-inch. It's 13-inch iPad Pro is the next size up, right? If I remember correctly. We did have several customers that beta tested this before we released it that tried it on the larger iPad. And I think the consensus there was that the 13-inch, if I'm getting the size correct there, is just too big and unwieldy to use for surveying. That the 11-inch iPad Pro, anywhere between the 9.5-inch iPad Pro and the 11-inch iPad Pro, the 12.9-inch, thank you, Doug, the 11-inch really makes a lot more sense in the end for surveying. So just a little data point. You might have a completely different experience. Feel free to do what works best for you. But that's just kind of what I think we heard some customers say. Don't quote me on that. So
yeah,
I think
that's exactly why I went with, to be fair.
One last comment on the whole like Lightning to USB adapter. We have seen some issues where if you get either like a Lightning to USB cable or a generic adapter, it does need to be MFi certified or have that MFi chip in it, or you will run into connectivity issues where your sidekick won't connect. So obviously using the Apple official one that I linked to in chat there, you can avoid any issues if you do have an older iPad that uses Lightning. Obviously, that's one of the benefits of using the USB-C models is you don't have to worry about that or carry around an adapter or anything like that, because USB-C alleviates that MFi whole kind of issue there.
Yeah,
cool.
Absolutely.
Let's keep moving along here. So Apple Pencil, to use or not to use, what do you guys think? So I'm on the I do not use an Apple Pencil. I tried it out and not that I have anything against it per se, but yeah, I just find the navigation and stuff works just as well with the finger, and I don't have to carry around another device with me.
So I use the pencil, and I think it works really nice. I like that accuracy. I don't mind tapping with the pencil, but I'm using my fingers to pan and zoom. But to get the accuracy for tapping, I like to use a pencil. And for making any annotations to when I make notes on the survey file as well, once I've measured how high the AP is from the floor, then I can make a note on there, or if I'm adding any kind of like notes to the picture. I think you need to have the pencil really. I'm a bit off with my fingers sometimes when I tap. I found I did try it, but then I decided to stick with the pencil.
Yeah, I kind of had the same experience, Matt. The first thing that I did was try with the pencil. That's the very first place that I went. And then I did it without the pencil. It's certainly doable. You just kind of have to zoom in a lot closer to make sure your taps are more accurate, but it's 100% doable without an Apple Pencil. But I really do like having it there. And so you can probably see in the animated GIF, like basically what I do is I will use the pencil to tap, and I find it's very natural to swing the pencil out of the way and use my fingers to pan and zoom and things like that, and then bring the pencil back in. And so I find that works really well. George, what about you? Which side of the fence are you on here? Are you pencil or no pencil if you're surveying?
I'm with Matt. Use both. I definitely like the finger approach. But the pencil's great for the notes.
Nice.
I think that's another benefit to the iPad, the new iPad Pros, where the the pencil magnetically attaches and charges and that kind of stuff. So that's another thing to keep in mind as far as looking at hardware.
Yeah, last year's iPad, the pencil does not, in fact, shoot, I can show this. Again, this is dangerously close to being a sales presentation for Apple products and not Ekahau stuff. It's dangerously close to being a sales presentation for Ekahau products too, if we're being honest. But don't worry, we'll get into live demo here in a second. But yeah, one thing that is awesome is on the new iPad, the pencil just snaps in on the top right there and starts charging. Whereas on last year's iPad, there is no holster. You have to get like a separate case or something like that. I did have a nice case that put the pencil right up here that was pretty great. But this magnetic pencil attachment is really, really great. And it's super convenient for stowing the pencil while you're surveying if you want to, use your fingers to tap on things, but have the pencil available for annotations.
Cool.
So are we done with boring salesy blah, 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 and ready to actually demo this thing, Jerry? Is that what's happening?
I think we should walk people through it. I did see one interesting comment in chat here that is a good point. I still don't understand why I need Ekahau Survey for iPad. I'll start off by saying you don't actually need the survey for iPad.
Nope.
You can certainly use the Ekahau Pro application as it stands today and always has, and do your surveys from there. But yeah, if you want longer battery life, if you want a lighter weight device for doing that surveying, and just really kind of unburden yourself from the laptop side. One of the things that I've found is really beneficial is when I go on site, battery life is really precious to staying productive on site. And now you can leave your laptop maybe charging in a room while you go out and do all your data collection with the iPad. And as Matt mentioned earlier, he surveyed all day with the iPad, not touching his laptop at all for the data collection piece of it, and was able to move through the environment faster and be able to collect that same rich data, that same detailed information that the Sidekick provides, but on a much lighter weight, easier to use, easier to navigate device.
And that is a good point that we should probably underscore a little bit there, Jerry, is that the data that you collect is identical. The data set is 100% the same as it is if you collected it on Ekahau Pro with your laptop, because it's coming from the Sidekick and we just get the exact same data. So that's a nice thing to know, is that it's 100% the same.
Good stuff. All right. So let's walk through, how do we get started with this thing, Joel?
Yeah, sure thing. So let's start. So we're always going to start with Ekahau Pro on a Mac or PC. So here I am running Ekahau Pro on Mac OS. And basically what you're always going to do is you're going to set up your project files in Ekahau Pro, and then we're going to beam them over to the iPad using a couple of different methods. So this is pretty much very standard stuff. We're going to go grab a map really quick. So I'll just go grab, we'll just go in and grab this PNG map real fast here. And then of course we need to set the scale. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do the CAD import for that, because I actually don't know the scale of this map, but the CAD import has it built in. So we'll do that one more time. So let's just go grab our DWG CAD file. Let Ekahau load that up. We're going to ignore most of the elements of the CAD file since we're doing a survey. We don't need walls or anything like that. I am going to switch from the default layout view to a different layout view in this CAD file. So we'll do that real quick. And then we'll import that map. And here we go. Now we have our background map. Maybe I'll rename it to floor 1 or something like that. And at this point, we've got our map. We've set the scale. This is actually ready to send over to our iPad. Now, if I was just on site and I was just going to, just kind of one-man show, like go and survey with this, then I would simply upload this to Ekahau Cloud or pass it over to my Sidekick and then beam it down from Ekahau Cloud down to my iPad, or bring it over directly from the Sidekick, one of those two ways. But let's do something a little bit more complex here. Let's say that Jerry and I want to work collaboratively on this project. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a note over here and say, I'm going to add a note over here and say, hey, Jerry, can you survey this side of the building? And so we'll put that note in there, and we'll add that. And then we'll throw a note in over on the other side, and I'll say that I'll get this half of the building. So what we're doing here is I'm kind of crossing over into Ekahau Cloud a little bit, but I'm actually just going to share this project file with Jerry. And if you want to add stuff, Jerry, then go for it. If you don't, that's fine too, I guess. So we've got everything we want in this project file. So what I'm going to do next is upload this to Ekahau Cloud. Oh no, I'm not logged in. So let's log in really quick. It's going to take me a second to get my password. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, so I was going to say what Joel is showing here is going to be, I think one of the big game-changing pieces also of, why we want the survey capability on the iPad. So in the past, we've always had to, really have your expert go on site and do the survey and collect the data. But now being able to move the data collection piece off of the expert tool, the Ekahau Pro tool, onto an easier, lighter weight solution like the iPad and a touch screen device that we can just tap a map and collect all that rich data, we can kind of unburden the Wi-Fi expert and move that data collection task maybe over to some other staff member that's on site. Maybe they're part of the IT team, maybe they're not. But now anybody else really that's physically on site at that location could be the one collecting that data and feeding it back to your expert at a remote location, or maybe at your corporate office, and keep that person so they're not having to spend all that time and that downtime traveling to and from these sites.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of different use cases here. So now that we've got that uploaded to Ekahau Cloud, what I'm going to do now is just for fun. This is not a required step if you're just kind of a one-man show, but I'm just going to go ahead and share this project file with Jerry. So here I am on ekahau.cloud, and notice there's this new project file here called Hey Jerry, and I'm actually going to share that with Jerry here. I don't know, George, Matt, you guys have any interest in this project file? I guess we'd have to get your email addresses here. So maybe throw them in the chat, and I'll just like copy and paste them in if you want to be added to that project file. So,
Well, you're
now. Oh, go ahead.
I just noticed my my iPad is not next to my desk here like it usually is. So I'm gonna go grab it real quick so that I can actually collect some data on that project file.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I'll switch over to the iPad side of things, and we'll start talking about how to do that over on the iPad side. So I was counting on Jerry to like fill some white space for me, but that then he left to get his iPad. So uno momento while I install a little thing here, and let's get the iPad shared over. See if. Let's see if I can get things shared here real fast. Oh no. Yeah, technical difficulties. And Jerry being gone at the same time. Really, really bad combination. Hey, Matt and George, have you guys had a chance to use Ekahau Cloud? Well, I don't know, your experience of like building project files over in Ekahau Pro and getting those moved into Ekahau Survey for iPad. Do you guys have any thoughts on that process? Do you find it easy? Are there things you like about it? Like, what do you guys think?
Sure, I think I find it super simple. You just create the file in Ekahau Pro like you would usually, and then you've got the two options of either saving it to the cloud and then putting it down on iPad, or if you've got no connectivity, you can just transfer it onto the Sidekick and then plug the Sidekick into the iPad and then download it from there onto your onto the iPad and start the survey. And then as soon as you hit back on the survey file, if you're synced to the cloud and you've got connectivity, it will just automatically go up to the cloud. So you can then, when you go back to your laptop after you finish your survey, pull down them results and then start looking at your data.
Nice. So yeah, it sounds like your experience is pretty similar to mine. Like I find it to be very simple, pretty easy to do. So, okay, cool. So I think I've got things kind of working over here, Jerry. I might use you as a backup plan if things don't particularly work out here. Zoom's AirPlay did not work for me, so I'm using Reflector here. So what you're looking at right now, if Jerry, you want to confirm, you guys can see my iPad here. What we're looking at right now is this is kind of the front page of my iPad sitting in. In fact, I'm going to do a video, a top-down view on this as well, so you can see finger swipes as well if you want to see that. So what we're looking at is the kind of the front page of where all of our projects are. I'm going to refresh this by pulling down on that list, and you can see that there's a new project here called Hey Jerry. So I'm just going to tap on that, and it's going to synchronize that down from Ekahau Cloud. Now, there was a question in the chat a minute ago. The question from Jacob, he said, is it possible to set up a survey file from scratch on the iPad? No. You're still going to do that kind of setup work in Ekahau Pro and then bring it over to the iPad, either with Ekahau Cloud or using the storage on board the Sidekick. Super fast, super easy to do. So now we're basically ready to start surveying. There's two modes that Ekahau Survey for iPad operates in. There's the view mode, which is where we're at right now. This is so we can just look at any data that's been collected. But if we hit the survey tab at the top, now this is the mode we can actually perform the site survey in. Down at the bottom, bottom center, you'll see there's two little buttons there. You can toggle back and forth between a stop and go survey and a continuous survey. So I'll show you guys stop and go first. So basically, you guys know how this works. We've got our Sidekick on. We've got our iPad in hand. Go stand somewhere, tap on the map, and Ekahau Survey for, oh, Sidekick's not powered on. Let's power that on. So Sidekick's going to boot up real quick here. Up in the upper right-hand corner, we get a little status indicator for the Sidekick, and it kind of shows us what its current state is. Obviously, mine is disconnected right now because it's booting up right now. One thing I will say, though, is that you can unplug the Sidekick from your iPad and plug it into your MacBook, and it just works. Like, you don't have to worry about telling it to disconnect or undocking it or anything like that. It always just works. So there we go. We're ready to rock and roll now. So we'll go ahead and take our first data point. So this is stop and go mode, where you stand in one place, you tap, you wait for it to gather a data point. And notice that one thing we've done here is we kind of show this blue area around your survey point, so that if you're new to surveying and you're not sure how far apart your survey data points it should be, we've basically made it so you can just tell your user, like, hey, just go fill in the whole map with blue. And you know, that's how you can ensure that you've got enough data points to do what you need to do. So that's stop and go. We can, if you tap like in the wrong place, like, oh no, we just tapped like in the completely wrong spot, you can hit the cancel button up in the corner to not place that data point. And there is also an undo button. So if you make a mistake, you can hit the undo button, and that will remove the last data point that you took. So there's some ways to fix errors. And one thing that I wanted to point out too, I'm using the pencil right now. Notice that I tried to like tap up here in the corner. You have to move the pencil away from the screen before it'll actually let you tap on the screen. So when the pencil is nearby, it's difficult to accidentally place survey data points, which I think is pretty nice. So we'll undo that last one. And then let's do a quick continuous survey. Again, you guys know how this works, but I just want to show you what it looks like to actually use. So we can tap on the hallway here and start walking down our hallway. I'm going to walk down here to the end of the hallway and tap right here as I turn. Notice we get up in the upper left-hand corner, we get a couple of indicators of what our current signal strength looks like. I'm sitting at neg 42 and 2.4 and neg 51 in the 5 gigahertz band, so you can keep an eye on what things look like there. We'll tap up here in the corner, maybe around the corner, then maybe we'll go back down the hallway across the other side, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of what that process looks like. And as you can see, it's very easy to switch back and forth between pencil and fingers as you tap on the screen. And then when you're done, you just hit end up here in the corner, and that will stop the current survey. So Jerry, have you been surveying in the background while I've been talking?
I don't know. You tell me. What does your project file show when you sync it?
Well, let's find out. So to synchronize the project file, all we have to do is hit the back button. So I'll just tap the back button here. And now you can see up here in the corner, you can see those little circular synchronization arrows where we are synchronizing that project file. So not only is that going to upload my results back up to the cloud, it's also going to merge Jerry's activity on this project file as well. So I'm going to open up that project file again. And if we go back to the surveys tab, we're still downloading some data there, you can actually see that Jerry did a whole bunch of surveying over here on the right-hand side of the building.
I was busy. I was doing work over here.
I guess. Well, I was just talking. You were actually like getting survey data. So if we go back to the view menu, we can see, first off, we get some visualizations of what data we collected. We'll talk about that more in a different project file, a real project file. But one thing I want to point out is Jerry actually got a note up here. So if we go over to this note, this yellow map note, and I tap on that, we can actually get some information. We can say, oh, hey, Jerry posted a note here. If we tap on that picture, this Cisco 3600 or whatever it is offline. Jerry, do you want to talk about like map notes and things like that for a minute? I feel like I've been talking for a long time, so I just want to give you a chance, you know?
So here's my my finger writing in progress there. So yeah, you can definitely tell the writing with the pen or pencil is certainly going to give you more accurate when you're doing the annotations. But hey, not too bad. Still legible. Even doing that with my finger while walking around doing a survey. So it's still possible. But yes, annotations, I would fully agree. Are if you're going to be doing a lot of annotating, having the pencil is going to be ideal for that kind of stuff. But yeah, picture notes, we can either, I could have either added this note to the note that Joel originally put in. It's kind of like a threaded note capability now that we've added in Ekahau Pro 10, and that carries over into the iPad side. So you can kind of have this threaded back and forth conversation, kind of collaborative piece of it. And yeah, so I don't know, Joel, if it looks like it might, yeah, it's just a little delayed there. But yeah, there you can see the date and time and who put that note in there. So yeah, with having multiple maybe Ekahau Connect users all working on a project file from either Ekahau Pro or from iPads, we can now keep track of, who put these notes in, who worked on the project files, given that each person is using their own Ekahau Connect account. That's one of the benefits of having, multiple Connect accounts in an organization. And it is a one-to-one thing. I know there's been some, questions around the licensing side. So yeah, that's, me using my Ekahau Connect account. Now I can track those, who put those notes into a project file.
Yeah, so I can show what that note process looks like. I won't take a photo because obviously my iPad's laying down on my desk right now. But I'll just I'll use an existing photo out of my library instead. And so I don't know. Here's a picture that I sent to Stephen Cooper the other day he wanted to check out this cool map that we have in our house. And I'm actually going to put a wall mount AP right there. And so maybe we could say AP will go here. And so there we go. Now we have made a note to say where that AP is going to go. So, pretty cool tool. I really like the ability to add notes there. I don't know, Matt, George, I feel like I should give you guys some airtime. Have you guys used the note tool? What do you guys think of that?
I used it yesterday. Jerry, did you get that file that I sent over to you?
I did, yeah. I just uploaded it to the cloud. Let me share it with Joel, and he could even pull it up on his end if he wants to try that. So, Joel, I just shared with you on the Ekahau Cloud. So if you want to refresh your projects there on the iPad, should be showing up there. It's SS is the map name.
Cool. I think, SS version 0.3. So I'll tap on that. And Matt, you might notice a little bit of a delay from versus what my camera sees. Hopefully you guys can see the camera okay. I'm not sure how well that's working. Might be a little bit of delay with my screen share there as this gets synchronized down. Wow, this looks like a pretty sizable project file.
Yeah. Yes, this was completely unplanned. I didn't know I was going to be sharing this with you guys today. So.
Should we?
No, it's fine. I was just saying I actually this is the file that I used to do the survey on the iPad yesterday. And you'll be able to see, I put notes pretty much near to where the APs are, just to capture. If you can, I don't know if you can.
Yeah. Do you want me to open one of the notes?
Yeah, go for it. So if you click on the picture, yeah. So just a note say there's an AP on top of the cabinet, and then I measured how high the floor to the ceiling is and made a note of it. On the actual image itself, just for when I go back, once I've collected this data and I'm reviewing it in the on the Pro version on my laptop, I've got all this information in one file.
So this is pretty cool for me to see, because like the majority of the notes and things that I've done, like literally that was like a photo from my house, So like it's pretty cool to see like some of thit's nice, really cool real world applications here. Is there anything else in this project file that you'd like to point out while we've got it open?
Well, I mean, it's hard to tell. This is a factory warehouse where they make breakfast cereal, and there's a lot going on in a lot of the other places. And the warehouse on the top of the picture doesn't have all of like the racking kind of marked out on the plans or anything, but it just kind of maybe gives the people watching now a bit of an idea of. I used the iPad for all of the parts of the survey, so doing the survey and then taking the notes, and then looking at it after, so you can see my survey routes, and everything was collected by the iPad and then synced back to my laptop, and then I've been working on the documentation today.
Wow, that is awesome. Really, really cool to see that. And over on the view side of this is probably a good time to talk about this. And Matt, if there's anything specific that you want to point out, just let me know, and I'd be more than happy to do that. We do have some visualizations that are built into Ekahau Survey for iPad. Now, keep in mind, this is not like a full version of Ekahau. This is designed to be an easy-to-use, lightweight solution that you can carry around and get lots of data with. But there are some basic visualizations built in. Like, for example, right now, we are looking at signal strength. And Matt, did you mess with and don't worry, this is a good thing. Did you play with the colors in the visualizations in Ekahau Pro in this project file?
So this is the kind of the default ones that we kind of like as a go-to to use for our heat maps.
So you set up these colors are something that you guys set up for your specific use cases, and that's showing up now in Ekahau Survey for iPad, right?
Yeah, this was an assessment of a of an existing deployment the customer had. They're actually about to start rolling out iPads across the factory for people to start using. They want us to come in to assess how their current design looks like. So we'll be providing back to them, like obviously like heat maps and the different all the different measurements we took from using the iPad.
Nice. That's great. So yeah, just to run through the different visualizations, because we kind of want to help, help anybody that hasn't used this yet kind of get an idea of what this application can do. We've got second strongest signal strength. So this is from our secondary coverage standpoint. We've got channel overlap, how many APs are sharing each channel. Looks like there's quite a bit of channel overlap here for you guys to deal with. Round trip time. This actually comes from the chipset on board the iPad. So this is a good look at, like, hey, if you were to walk around with an iPad Pro on this network, what would its performance from a round trip time standpoint look like? And so that is currently the active survey type that is available in Ekahau Survey for iPad. And then, of course, there's noise. Jerry, can you remind me, is this noise, does this come from the SpecAn on the Sidekick, or is this from the Wi-Fi adapters on the Sidekick?
The noise measurement, that should be coming from, I don't want to misspeak on that, but yeah, I believe that is actually coming from the spectrum analyzer on the Sidekick.
Okay, cool. So let's back up and take a look at another project file. Let's see, which one do I want to look at here? We'll take a look at this one. A couple more things I want to show you guys around just like looking at signal strength from different APs. So right now, by default, Ekahau Survey for iPad is showing a signal strength from all of the access points. But if you tap on a specific one, that will show you that specific one. So you can see where the edges of my cell are at negative 67 dBm here. You can see that everything down to neg 85 dBm. So that's basically anything inside that contention domain is colored in gray. Right now, we're looking at both 2.4 and 5. I'm going to switch over to just look at the 5 gigahertz band. So this is what things look like in the 5 gigahertz band. This is what things look like in 2.4. So you can go through and tap on different APs to look and see what their coverage area looks like. This, for example, is kind of fun because these are directional antennas here in an auditorium. You can toggle the AP info on and off. So for example, here we can see the vendor is Ubiquity. We can see what their SSIDs are and see what channels they're on. So there's some nice basic information that you can see there. One other thing that I want to point out too is how to switch floors. I'll use the pen to show this. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, next to the Sidekick status indicator, is this little floors toggle. This slides a little drawer in and out where you can change between floor 1, floor 2, for example. And on top of that, there's also an add map button there that basically invokes a view where you can select either a camera or you can bring in an image that's already on your iPad, and you can actually bring in a new map and set the scale right there. So some pretty cool stuff. That's available.
Yeah, I don't know, Matt or George, if you guys have had an opportunity to use it at all yet, but I can see that being pretty handy for, you get on site and all of a sudden you realize the floor plans that you have in the project file are not maybe the most up to date, and you could leverage something like a fire escape plan and just take a picture of that with the iPad and be back up and running without even having to switch over to your laptop then.
Well, yesterday when I was doing the survey of the survey I was doing, I was told beforehand that it was only one floor. And then when I got there and then actually walked around with the other guys, they quickly realized there's actually 5 floors. So needed to add some more floors to the survey. But what I did is I actually built it in the Pro version and then synced it to the cloud, then pulled it down on the iPad rather than just adding it from the iPad once they sent over the additional floor plans.
Yep.
Yeah, we never have that issue. We always get the most accurate floor plans all the time.
Yeah.
I sense some sarcasm there.
Yeah, whatever, George. Either sarcasm or just blatant just dishonesty, one or the other. Cool. Jerry, do you think we need to talk about synchronizing back down to Ekahau Pro, or do you think we should move on to Q&A? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm looking at the time here, and I do see we have quite a few questions in there. So maybe we reserve the, more of the, we can certainly show how to sync it back to Ekahau Pro. That's pretty quick, but I want to make sure we get into the questions here pretty quickly and see if there's anything else maybe that we missed that we want to cover on the iPad side.
Yeah. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into Q&A. So feel free to put your questions in the Q&A tool, upvote any questions. I'm going to ask the top rated question first. This really is the question with the most upvotes. Wilford asks, who wants a Sidekick skin to make it look like an old Sony Walkman? Me, I do. Definitely want that. Jerry, can I put in a feature request for that, please? Thank you.
I think I think we'll allow our third-party, accessory manufacturers to handle that one. We got some AP skin, some companies that do AP skins and antenna skins and stuff like that. We'll maybe allow them to own that market.
Yeah, where are our friends at either Ventev or ExcelTex? Guys, you hear us? We need this. We need it. So, yeah, Sidekick skins sounds like a good idea. Another question from. Go ahead.
No.
Can I ask one question? And it was actually asked a few times. AP on a stick.
Yeah, that's the next question on the list, George. So yeah, I think we need to talk about that. So yeah, currently that would be, I would say, one of the limitations on the iPad side. The survey, Ekahau Survey for iPad, does not currently do the whole AP on a stick survey. So if you're familiar with AP on a stick surveys, in Ekahau Pro, we support that, and you can freeze an access point, then move the access point to a new location, resurvey it all within the same project file to represent, building out that network with the AP on a stick kind of survey / design method. Yeah, so that is currently not supported in the kind of 1.0 version, we'll say, of Ekahau Survey for iPad, but that is something that we've heard pretty loud and clear since we've announced this, that is a kind of a critical feature for many that is missing today. So obviously, we're prioritizing that accordingly. I don't have any specific dates or anything like that I can give around that, but that is definitely something our developers are actively working on building in. And the cool thing I would add of the whole iPad ecosystem and the App Store and stuff like that, that is one of the, I think, also cool points that we haven't had in the past, is the ability to quickly update these kind of things, right, and be able to roll out these changes. And whether it be minor or big, with Ekahau Pro, we have to really take that stuff into a lot bigger consideration of, anytime we come up with a minor update, that's a pretty big undertaking for our users to download the entire installer, install it just to install, some new antennas, for example, or, whether that be a minor or major kind of feature or bug fix or something like that. With Survey for iPad, going through the App Store and the updates, it's a much easier, much faster process for us to push those updates out, as well as for our users to kind of consume those updates. So yeah, I think we're going to see those updates coming out more regularly as we kind of go down this path.
Cool. So a question from John that I think is a really good one. If you need to do deeper analysis, can you gather information using the iPad version and bring the capture data into a laptop version of Ekahau? The answer to that, John, is a resounding yes. The whole idea of this is that the iPad is the lightweight and easy to use like gathering tool, but then you can synchronize this either back up to Ekahau Cloud. Like, for example, this project file is already synchronized up to Ekahau Cloud, and then you can pull it down to Ekahau Pro on your Mac or PC. If you don't want to use the cloud for whatever reason, no problem. The Sidekick functions as a storage device, and you can easily, like, you can see this one called Medium Survey here in the upper right-hand corner. That is actually stored on my Sidekick, and so you can be completely off the internet if you need to be. Not a problem. Matt, did you have something to say there?
No, I just coughed.
All right, perfect. No worries. Yeah, cool. So I hope that answers your question, John. But yeah, in-depth analysis, absolutely. Me personally, I want to use a mouse and keyboard for precision work, for lots of data entry, things like that. And so, so for me, this is a great ecosystem. We can gather the data on the iPad. Bring it back.
Hey, Joel, before you jump into the next question here, I got clarification on the question you asked me before that I did find out that I misspoke on. Is if you go to that noise view on the iPad, I for some reason thought that I don't know why I thought it was coming from the spectrum analyzer on the Sidekick, but in the survey for iPad, actually, which makes sense, just like it does in Ekahau Pro, the noise measurement is coming from the Wi-Fi adapter. So that is not the spectrum analyzer energy, noise measurement there on the survey for iPad. So that is actually from the Wi-Fi adapters inside of the Sidekick still. But yeah, it's coming from those radios, which is a Wi-Fi noise measurement, not a spectrum analyzer, like noise or energy measurement.
Yeah, and And also, I think it's good to note that, you know, if you do a survey with Ekahau Survey for iPad and you take it back into Ekahau Pro, all the spectrum analysis data is totally there. It's all there to view in Ekahau Pro. So same data set, same everything. Cool. Next question is on the cloud license. How many users can you have? So the whole idea behind Ekahau Connect is it's essentially one user per license. And the advantage of that is, you know, Jerry has an Ekahau Cloud license. I have an Ekahau Cloud license, and I'm signed into that on my iPad. I'm signed into it in Ekahau Pro. And so the beauty of that is that, you know, we can tell who is who. And so we can see that, you know, Jerry put a note in here, and then I put a note in here. And you can see who put that note in there. And so that's pretty important for the collaboration piece. It's best just to have everybody have their own Ekahau Cloud account, or Ekahau Connect account rather, which includes Ekahau Cloud, Ekahau Survey for iPad, Ekahau Pro. It includes all the stuff, basically everything in one package. Which is,
so I'm not sure. I'm assuming on the question that that's what he was after, Joel. But the other angle of that is, you know, maybe how many people can you have on you know, collaborating on a project file? And I know, George, you were at the Ekahau Masters, and I don't know if you've worked on any large projects since we've rolled this out. You know, have you worked on any projects where you've had, you know, multiple people on there? Obviously, we've done, you know, plenty of demos here of just, you know, 2 or 3 people working on a project file. You know, what's the most that you've seen kind of collaborating on a project file, and, you know, did you run into a limit or anything?
Yeah, no, great question. It's been really small for us. We're just using 2 or 3 guys. You know, some of the limitations of the, you know, we're doing a lot more AP on a stick, so when we have to go back and do our validation, we're easing into it, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and I think at Masters, I want to say they did some testing with, you know, about, I want to say around 10, maybe more people all working on the same project file. I know we've done some pretty, you know, lab testing type stuff in our offices as well with, I want to say 10 to 15 people all working on different iPads and collaborating together on the same project file, and haven't ran into any significant bottlenecks there with, you know, obviously other than bandwidth, you know, if everybody's syncing at the same times, you know, it's going to slow down, but from a merge functionality and things like that, it can handle all of that without any issues.
cool. Next question. I'm just going down the line for questions here as they've been upvoted. Great question from Kevin. Your question just got pushed down below this one, so we'll go to the next one, then we'll get back down to yours. Somebody upvoted at the last second. One question from Tomislav is about the licensing around the iPad application. Let me just kind of parse through this really quick. Let's see. Jerry, do you have eyes on that question right now?
No, I wasn't looking at it. Which one are we looking at? The top one?
Yeah. So basically, is it possible to share or move a license from one iPad to another, or do we need to have one license per iPad? Essentially, go ahead.
Yeah, let's talk about the licensing piece of it. So this is definitely a change from what you guys are used to from the Ekahau Pro licensing model, which was, you know, more of just you've got a static key, and your 2 options with that key is either you're binding it to a MAC address on the device itself, like your internal Wi-Fi adapter, or you're binding it to some type of external network interface, like your survey adapter would be the most common, or it could be your Sidekick or some USB Ethernet adapter or something like that that has a MAC address, you know, externally. And obviously the pros and cons there is with that licensing model, you can either have the convenience of being portable and being able to transfer that license easily, or, you know, tying it directly to your machine and not needing any external hardware plugged into it to run the Ekahau license. That's completely changed when you talk about the survey for iPad, because now we have the Ekahau Connect subscription, and that's where the licensing kind of lives. So there's a username and password that you create that is now tied to that license key, and then you log into your iPad, into the Ekahau Survey for iPad application using that username and password. So that's completely independent of that license key that is specifically tied to your Ekahau Pro instance. What that means is that kind of decouples things, you know, again, like we were talking before, where you could have, you know, surveying from your iPad, but at the same time, you could be running Ekahau Pro. So maybe, you know, you've got Ekahau Pro running on your laptop, and you have either, you know, someone else or, you know, yourself could be surveying out in the field with your Sidekick connected to your iPad. Those are kind of decoupled now, right? The data collection side from the Ekahau Pro side. So you could be doing your planning, your reporting, your analysis, and then tying the data source being your cloud now to move the survey data from your iPad to your Ekahau Pro instance on your laptop.
Question from Kevin. This is the one that just got outvoted at the last second. Is Connect the only way to get licensing to run Ekahau on iPad? Yes, it is, Kevin. So if you want to use Ekahau Survey for iPad, you do need an Ekahau Connect account. And so getting Connect is the way to do that. Jordan asks, any plans for running on a Samsung tablet, or are we sticking with iOS? Jerry, do you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah, so for the foreseeable future, that's where we're investing all of our R&D is on the iPad side of things. From a consistency standpoint when it comes to the hardware and the operating system. Obviously, there's more to work with there, or less variance to work with there. So yeah, that's something that we're focused on right now. I wouldn't say it's out of the question that we wouldn't adopt something if there is a good solid hardware platform on the that size device, that type of performance, and we can get a good consistent user experience on there. That's not, that certainly could become the reality today. That's where we're kind of focused on from a survey and data collection standpoint.
So at this point, we're at the top of the hour. Several other good questions that we can probably go through here. I just want to be respectful of especially Matt and George's time. Looks like quite a few product questions and things like that. So what do you think, Jerry? Should we stick around, go into overtime for a few minutes and answer some of these questions, or what do you think we should do?
Yeah, I want to be mindful of Matt and George's time. I don't know if you guys have a few more minutes to stick around. And obviously from a question standpoint, I would certainly like to leverage, these experts that we have on the call. If you have any specific questions from them, given that they do have quite a bit of experience now using this solution out in the field. If there's anything else you guys want to go through on the product walkthrough side, but we can certainly answer a few more questions here, I think.
I've got time to stay on for a bit longer, so I don't feel like you need to rush for me. Happy to stay on for a bit.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Yeah, let's keep it rolling if you guys can.
Cool. Well, let's power through a few more questions here, and we'll keep an eye on chat if you guys have anything specific you guys want to ask from feedback from Matt or George. All right, so the next question, will Ekahau Capture be added into the iPad with Sidekick? You guys keep asking these product roadmap questions. Yeah, that's something that I can't reveal too much on from a product roadmap standpoint, but I think the writing's kind of on the wall there. I think it's something that if a lot of customers are asking for it, obviously we're going to prioritize those kind of things accordingly. But yeah, certainly the iPad. The Sidekick is obviously now compatible with the iPad, so that opens up a lot of possibilities of things that we can do with the Sidekick and the iPad. So yeah, if that's something that you guys are interested in, definitely keep that feedback coming. Use the feature request on Twitter, as well as the user voice link now. If you haven't seen that yet, I'll see if I can grab that and put that in chat, where you can submit those feature requests.
A question for, have any of you guys used Surface Pros? Jerry, I know you have. Matt, George, have you guys ever surveyed with a Surface Pro before?
Yep.
You have. Okay, so this is great. You go ahead.
Yeah, that's our primary device that we use.
Okay, cool. So question from Waldak here. Can the Microsoft Surface Pro be used with Ekahau for surveys? And what are the key differentiators to prefer the iPad Pro over the Surface Pro? I think I'm going to leave this one to you guys.
Well, we use the Surface Pro, and in fact, we're actually using the Surface Go, which is a much smaller one. And again, primarily for data collection. The difference is obviously the weight. The iPad's going to be much smaller for those passive surveys. Also the battery. A lot of times if we're doing something outdoor, we have to make sure the screen's very bright. The Surface battery doesn't last as long, so we're also having to carry an external battery. So with an iPad, you kind of eliminate both of those, the weight and the battery. So it's been very helpful in that way.
Just going to echo what George said about the weight and the battery life. I found that on using the iPad, much lighter to carry, much easier to use, like with the panning with the fingers and then tapping with a pencil. I know you can do the same thing with the Surface, but I find it nicer on the iPad. And again, like with the brightness and the battery life, again, is why I would prefer to use the iPad over the Surface.
Awesome. Thanks for that, guys. Yeah. Chris Morris also put a nice comment in there in the Q&A tool. I pasted it in the chat so you guys can read that if you want to. Chris, thank you for your feedback. Thanks for that, guys. Much appreciated. I haven't personally surveyed with the Surface Pro, so I've kind of been wanting to get one. So, question from Peter. We were told not to use USB 3 hubs due to interference issues. Please explain why we can now use a USB-C connection without similar interference, and does this mean that we can use a USB-C hub instead of USB-C hub instead of a USB 3 hub if we wish to hook it up to adapters in a newer laptop? Peter, I will not claim to be an expert in the ins and outs of USB protocol and how it works. My understanding, though, is that the Sidekick actually uses a USB 2 connection. Now, that is over USB-C, but I don't believe that necessarily means that it is USB 2. I don't really understand what happens with USB. It's kind of the phi level there of USB. But the Sidekick itself uses USB 2, and we have not found that to be a problem. We have a spectrum analyzer on board the Sidekick. That's where we usually see interference from USB-C devices, and it simply hasn't been a problem. So we seem to be in an okay situation there. At this time, I would still not recommend using USB 3 hubs with your PC or Mac-based survey gear. Matt, George, Jerry, I don't know if you guys have anything to add there.
The big thing I would add to that is the big difference from the issues that we're seeing with USB 3 hubs is, think about the adapters. You're plugging the adapters directly into that USB 3 hub, where now with even if you were using a USB 3 hub and a Sidekick, that would work around that issue as well, because the Sidekick is so far removed physically. Even though it's not a huge distance, just moving it even a foot or two away from that hub is going to make sure it's not impacting those kind of results. So even if you are using a USB 3 hub with your survey device, obviously in this case not an iPad, but if you're using it on your laptop with a USB 3 hub, having the Sidekick physically separated from that hub is going to make sure that it's not skewing the results.
Cool. Let's see. I don't know how there's lots of great questions left, although we're about 8 minutes in overtime. So I think we should probably do 2 more questions. And then after that, Jerry, if you could would you be willing to put up that slide with our contact info? I don't have it handy, or maybe I do. Question from Peter: does usage licensing get linked from the Sidekick? For corporations, can Central set up maps and send the Sidekick and map to site, and then load survey for iPad and use the Sidekick as a floating license? Yeah, good question there. Okay, so beside the licensing thing, let's just not pay attention to licensing for a second. Having somebody at a central office, like a Wi-Fi expert. Let's say that Jerry is the Wi-Fi expert and I am the Wi-Fi noob. That's actually pretty accurate anyway. Then Jerry could set up project files and then share those with my Ekahau Cloud account, and I could go out and survey with that. One thing that you probably could do, Jerry, you can tell me whether this is, I don't know, an okay thing or not, but I think what you could do to address a licensing issue is you could have an Ekahau Cloud or an Ekahau Connect account for your wireless expert, and then you could probably also have an Ekahau Cloud account that's a floating account that you could send out to various sites with the Sidekick with an iPad. What do you think, Jerry? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could make something like that work. Obviously, there's some inconveniences there. So the way the Ekahau Connect accounts work is it's a one-to-one kind of usage, just like our the ESS license keys are. And how they control that is it does some kind of license check when you go to log in. So yeah, if you're sharing a username and password type of thing, is that what you're kind of indicating, Joel?
Yes, I think so.
Yes. So yeah, you'll run into some issues of, saying, hey, that account's already in use, those kind of inconveniences. You can certainly make it work if you're trying to, from a budgeting standpoint or something like that, trying to, get on board with it. Obviously, ideally for convenience and, tracking, which user did what, there's some significant benefits of each person having their own Ekahau Connect subscription, and obviously project files and being able to share those and then being able to have some separation of those organization, just from an organizing standpoint, there's a lot of benefits to each user that's going to be doing surveying or doing analysis or anything like that to have their own Ekahau Connect account.
Sweet. Let's do 2 more questions and then be done. Question from Carson: can you disable the blue hash marks? Carson, I believe, is talking about the kind of like the area around survey data points. Jerry, any comments on that as the resident product guy? See how I just throw you under the bus there?
So you can't disable them. So yeah, you're talking about those marks on there. I don't know how well you can see it on your end.
Just fine. Yeah.
Those are going to be on the survey side. So just disable them. You flip over to the view side, and those are going to go away. So you can't really turn them off altogether. They're there to be kind of a guide while you're doing the data collection and in the survey mode. If they're getting in the way or a problem or something like that, definitely we'd like to get that feedback and get that over to our developers if there is a need to actually turn those off on the survey side. But yeah, hopefully just flipping over into the view mode will accomplish that.
Yeah. One more question, and I think we better call it quits here. Lots of great questions. Jerry's got our contact information up there. If you guys want to email us those questions, we'd be happy to answer these for you. David asks, can you see the spectrum data when you're surveying or when you're done surveying on the iPad? That is a great question, David. At this time, the spectrum analysis data is collected in the background, but it is not viewable on the iPad. So this is kind of version 1.0, so to speak. So we don't have that in there yet. I don't know, Jerry, that seems like a pretty obvious place to go on the roadmap. I haven't really seen, I don't really know what the plans are there though.
Yeah, that's definitely getting into the roadmap stuff again, so I can't comment too much on that. But yeah, the data is all being collected. We're just not displaying it on the iPad side today. One, because we're trying to keep the iPad as simple as possible and kind of keep the expert details on the Ekahau Pro side. So all that data is collected and can be analyzed on the Ekahau Pro side. But yes, no spectrum, data visualized today on the iPad side.
Yeah, just to illustrate that really quick. So here is the awful survey data that Jerry and I snagged with the iPad. So I've now synchronized that down from Ekahau Cloud. And so one thing we can do is we can open up the survey inspector and we can go look at those data points. And so this is actually, I am now looking at spectrum analysis data that was collected at Jerry's house. Holy cow, Jerry, what was going on right there? So this is actually spectrum analysis data. Where was he on the map? This is obviously, if this is Jerry's house, this is a big house, but yeah, this is that point in time where we saw this device show up in the spectrum. So it's all viewable in Ekahau Pro, but not at this time on Ekahau Survey for iPad. So cool.
Well, tiny little camera.
Nice. Your spy camera.
Plug that in while I was surveying that area. So yeah,
nice.
A little interference. Cool.
Sweet.
I did see a question about, can I get an eval of this? Can I try this out? Definitely reach out to your local, sales rep, who you work through. They should be able to get you some kind of an eval or demo or something like that of this. Now, obviously the iPad, there's several requirements to be able to run this on the iPad of having a Sidekick. First and foremost, you need the hardware. But yes, also having Ekahau Pro already. So there's a couple of things there that you need to kind of meet. But yeah, if you do want to, if you meet all those boxes and you still want to try out the iPad app for yourself, we should certainly be able to arrange that. We do also have a promotion going on until the end of June. I think it's $299 to, if you have active support and maintenance, and you can get the time remaining on your support contract converted over for only $299 to get access to all those new features that we talked about.
Cool. Well, I think at this point we should probably go ahead and shut things down, let everybody get on with their day. Matt, George, you guys, thank you so much for getting on the call and sharing your real life experience with this stuff. We really appreciate your guys' views on this, and we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. So
awesome. Well, we'd love to have you back on here in the future. So hopefully we can put something together.
Yeah, could I just mention as well, if people wanted to reach out to myself or even the partner I work with at Matidic Mac, we started our own wireless podcast at the beginning of the year that you could people can follow. That we've
yes.
So it's wifininjas.net.
Wi-Fi Ninjas. I'm just writing it on the screen here. Wi-Fi Ninjas.net. Correct?
And then we've got quite a few podcasts and blogs on there. So just trying to get.
I listened to the episode with UC and the awful squeaky door, and it was, yeah, you guys are excellent hosts. Really enjoyed listening to that. So yeah, everybody head over to wifininjas.net, check out Matt's podcast. Highly recommend that. Definitely be sure to go do that. So Jerry stuck it in the chat as well. If you don't want to have to like read it off of a screen, you can copy pasta out of the chat.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. Thank you.
Any final words?
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Learned a lot in that process.
Cool. Awesome. Always good to have you on. And yeah, let me know when we can team up on another project when I got some new toys to test out.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, you know, we need to chat. Let's talk after this.
Sounds good. We'll do. All right, guys.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. We'll let everybody go. We did record this, so a link to the recording will be sent out. And yeah, thanks, everybody, for all the great questions and comments and chat. Really appreciate you guys being on and sticking on as long as you have.
Thanks, everybody. Bye now.
Thanks,
Cheers,
guys.
guys.